Hi, welcome to Film Stash. My name is Douglas Campbell. Marvel recently released Thunderbolts, and something strange has happened. Something that Marvel desperately needed for quite a while now. People actually liked it. I even liked it. Now, granted, this isn't Marvel's, best movie ever by any means, but look, a win's a win. Thunderbolts still has a long way to go to get to profitability. From what I've been reading, they need at least around $400 million, just to break even, mind you. Which, kind of judging by the competition that's coming up, I don't know if they will get to that number. This next section will contain a slight spoiler to the end, so if you don't want to get spoiled at all for Thunderbolts, I'd say just skip the next 15 seconds or so. One of the methods that they are using to try to get more butts into seats is the twist ending for this movie is that the crew that has been assembled unintentionally, they are the new Avengers. These are the new Avengers. You know, that's what the film is. It's the Thunderbolts, and these guys will be the new Avengers. But what they've been doing is they have been completely remarketing, and they retitled the movie as the new Avengers, and I don't know, I feel like doing it barely the weekend after, I just feel like it looks a little desperate, if I'm being honest with you, to try to get more butts in seats. Will it work? You know what? No, I'm getting a little sidetracked here. There is so much that I want to talk about with Thunderbolts, and I think what Marvel needs to take from Thunderbolts moving forward. But before we get to that, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Any help that you could give to this video or to this channel, I would greatly appreciate it. My mid-year goal is to get to about 350 subscribers, and maybe by the end of the year, depending how things go, my goal might be to get to 500, but we'll see how that goes. Any support that you've given me so far, I just want to say thank you. I don't know if what I'm about to say is considered super controversial within the MCU fan base. I feel with the work that Joss Whedon and James Gunn have done, I feel like Marvel Studios, and in particular Disney, they took the wrong lessons away from those guys' work. The humor, the music, and the kick-ass action, and they thought that's all a Marvel movie ever needed to be. As long as you kept that same level of the same thing throughout all the projects, you had success. As long as you kept it the same basic level, you're good. But I feel without a decent story and a wider variety of characters, I just feel over time, it just eventually grows maybe a little boring, a little bit stale, a little bit repetitive. And I think that's one of the problems that Marvel was facing for a while, whenever they didn't have a clear direction like they were to Avengers Endgame. People kind of saw the formula, and they just weren't connecting with it as much anymore. It appears that Marvel, they are finally starting to listen. They've listened to the criticisms of the MCU formula, and they've made, ironically, I was talking about taking the wrong lessons from James Gunn, but they've made a James Gunn-esque superhero film where they use these heroes and they're focusing on basically depression and unresolved trauma within these characters. There isn't necessarily a big bad to fight at the very end of the day. In fact, the final battle, it's very experimental for Marvel. The focus is whether Yelena and these other group of heroes, they're able to get past their mental roadblocks that's preventing them from being able to move forward. This movie, it's not perfect. I mean, the plot itself, it's pretty paper thin. The objective is pretty questionable. Elements could have been significantly explored more, like Bob/Sentry's trauma. There is little implications as to what happened. You don't exactly explore it all that much. He gets pushed a little off to the side despite being the force of nature that gets everybody to learn this lesson. And as much as I love Bucky and I like Sebastian Stan as this character, I do think that he is starting to get maybe a little checked out of the character. He introduced Senator Bucky within Captain America: Brave New World. I thought was weird, but I thought, okay, let's see where this goes. And then we get a little bit more of it here in this movie, and it was the weakest part of the movie. And I don't know if that's whether because he's mentally checking out or just the material itself is not that strong. But getting past those little bits of criticism, I thought that this movie, it was pretty solid. Like, I would give this like a 7 out of 10. Marvel, they still got to figure out like their overarching plan, like post Avengers Doomsday. This is what I think that they need to take from Thunderbolts moving forward to make their movies work again. Starting with, focus on character development again. Within the first 3 phases, Marvel, like what they really strived with, they came up with interesting characters that worked well on their own and had multi-film arcs that could keep them relevant within like the broader MCU. But at the same time, like a puzzle, they were able to click into a bigger team, a broader picture. That's why for the longest time, like Tony Stark and Captain America, they were the faces of the MCU. They had like an arc that played from their first appearance all the way to Avengers Endgame. And post Endgame, you could particularly see this, but the MCU, they really struggled in finding like new characters with multi-film arcs. Like they had like multiple on-agains, off-agains. But what was cool about Thunderbolts is that this film, it introduced a bunch of characters, most that we've seen in the past, who were like B and C tier like supporting characters, also kind of forgettable villains too. But this film was almost exclusively about the characters discussing just how broken their lives were. Think Breakfast Club, but with superpowered individuals. A few characters like rose out of the ashes and showed that they could have like multi-film arcs. Maybe not on the same level of Tony Stark and Steve Rogers. You had Red Guardian, you had John Walker, but out of like the whole pack of these characters, Helena, played by Florence Pugh, she was the most broken, but she has like the most potential to have a multi-film arc. By having a struggle that is pretty relatable to the audiences, they will care more for the characters, and therefore they will care more for the stories moving forward. Scale back on the Marvelisms. In terms of franchise filmmaking, Marvel was the king. Eventually, post-Endgame, as like many people have noted, it reached a point of stagnation. And the fallout, it has resulted in a few overabundances. An overabundance of projects, an overabundance of low-stake multiversal adventures, and so on and so forth. And while Thunderbolts, it still has some of the basic MCU formula, like, to me, it felt a bit more scaled down from everything I just described. This movie, it's not on the level of The Winter Soldier, not by any means, but it does scale things back down to earth in a pretty grounded way. Now, I know I mentioned this as a slight critique about the plot being so thin. Sometimes scaling stories down to like their basic story elements, I think it sometimes can be for the best. And sometimes with creatives, you have gotten like way better products from scaling things significantly down. It was a story in service of the characters again, even if it wasn't like the strongest of plots. And moving forward from Thunderbolts, I think what other like Marvel projects can do, not everything needs to be a big, huge CG battle at the end. Not everything needs to be a laugh out loud comedy. You could have like the comedy within it be situation. Make superheroes an actual vessel for something. Now, superheroes, like, since their initial creation, they have been used for escapism mostly. But sometimes, like, these heroes that we've looked up to as children and even as like film audiences, they have been used to draw attention to broader societal issues. For example, the X-Men. The X-Men have been used as an allegory and talking point for the struggle of minorities facing discrimination within America. And Marvel Studios, they've certainly dabbled into some social issues within the past, probably most notably with Ryan Coogler's film Black Panther. The biggest issue Marvel has had with this situation is its partnership with Disney, really. Any inclusion of current issues or inclusivity, it's not because the companies like genuinely care. It's because like Disney thinks it's what will make them look good. Hence it comes off like very performative whenever they do decide to include these things, because it doesn't come from a place of genuine care. And while it's certainly debatable like how much like the team behind Thunderbolts like cared about how they tackled depression, I think it was implemented pretty well within the story, that it did feel like there was some care put into it. But moving forward, like, if Disney and Marvel, they want to cover like either hot button issues or they want to go about being more inclusive within the superheroes, like, I'd say just go for it. Just go for it. The solution is to not steer away from it, but rather naturally implement it into the plot, or if there's like a bigger issue you want to talk about, make it more allegorical. Say what you will about the Fox X-Men movies, but you take away the superpowers and you have like a pretty human story at the core of it. It has something to say about the human experience. And those movies, some of the X-Men movies, they're considered the best of the superhero genre. Just at least be genuine about like these topics that you're covering. Going about some issues like apolitically and wishy-washy, it ends up coming off bland. That's how you end up with Captain America 4. And so to wrap it up here, Marvel should take away these key points from Thunderbolts and work it more into their future projects moving forward. Focus on character development again. Scale back on the Marvelisms. Make superheroes an actual vessel for something. We are on the horizon of Marvel tackling their own interpretation of the X-Men. And I think it would be the perfect time to utilize all three of what we discussed here today into making truly something special, not just within like the MCU, not even in comparison to the other X-Men, but just in terms of superhero stuff. Will they actually do it though? Well, that's all the time we have for today here on Film Stash. My name is Douglas Campbell. And if you excuse me, hey everybody, this is Editing Duck here. I just want to take the time to state that at the time of this video's release, I noticed that it is the 1-year anniversary of Film Stash. I know, it's really crazy just that I started this thing. It felt like yesterday, really. I just want to like thank you guys who have subscribed to me from the beginning, and for those who came along the way. Like, I really appreciate you guys just showing me support week to week and liking my videos and suggesting things and just all the ways that you've supported me. I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And I look forward to what's coming next. All right, well, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you again so much.